Hey, I was in Valdosta, Georgia. Let me tell you what I saw. All right, so both my wife and I and a friend traveled to Valdosta, Georgia. We wanted to see the Trump victory rally featuring, obviously, the senatorial candidates, Republican senatorial candidates, Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. First off, here's what you have to understand about the Georgia rally. It was a post-election rally, and the rally was jam-packed. On top of the fact that it was a post-election rally, it was in the middle of the boonies and nowhere in Georgia. This is a place, quite frankly, as a black man, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I would have been completely scared and nervous to be there, quite frankly. We pulled up, we parked our vehicle. We parked out in the middle of some field with thousands of other vehicles, quite frankly. And then the logistics were amazing. We had to walk about a mile up the road, and then there were just a gang of buses. I don't know how many, a couple dozen or more of these big, huge, humongous charter buses just driving people back and forth to the rally. Here's another thing you have to understand. It was cold. I am originally a California boy, now a Florida boy. Cold weather is cold to me. As a matter of fact, that's why I'm dressed warm right now, sitting in my vehicle. But it was cold, and it was in the middle of nowhere, in the boonies, and it was packed. It was packed. It was if the presidential election hadn't happened yet. And I want to talk to you about the diversity. I hate playing the identity politics game, but I want you to understand what really happens at a Trump rally. I want you to understand what really bonds Trump supporters, and that's the message of freedom. The message of freedom, the message of liberty. That's the common bond that Trump supporters share. I want you to know that I got on a bus with two, I guess they're called Hare Krishnas or something like that. They look like Rastafarians. They were singing songs about Zion. They were singing songs about Trump on the bus. Black dudes, dreadlocks. I spoke in line to a retired Georgia cop. I mean, big redneck looking dude, country dude that, quite frankly, even me myself, I wouldn't have spoken to the guy. I would have assumed that this guy was probably some racist guy, several years ago. So that's my own fault. I would have assumed that. I had a great conversation with the guy. Sat in back of these two women that traveled together 6 hours. And mind you, we traveled over 3 hours each way, 6 hours total. There were two women sitting in front of us that had traveled together from Alabama, a 6.5 hour drive, whatever part of Alabama they were from. So a total of 13 hours driving just to see Trump. Some people sitting behind us that were from Denver, Colorado, that traveled because they wanted to see Trump. It was absolutely amazing. Not to mention, obviously, there were a bunch of Georgia people there. Another group of people that were there that really surprised me, that really shocked me, were a bunch of Chinese people. There were a bunch of Chinese people there, many that attended the rally, but many that were outside of the rally, that were passing out pamphlets of anti-communist pamphlets, anti-CCP, the Chinese Communist Party pamphlets, passing out pamphlets to us, Americans, warning us about the dangers of communism and how dangerous America could be if we don't re-elect President Donald Trump, and the impact that it'll have on the globe, the impact that it'll have on even Chinese people. They were also passing out copies of the Epoch Times, however you pronounce it, EPOCH. I didn't know, I hadn't realized that major funders or dissidents had created, Chinese dissidents had created the Epoch Times. I had no idea. So they were passing that newspaper out, and they were passing out anti-CCP pamphlets. Guys, we can still win this thing. The rumors that Republicans are just torn up, and the lies that Republicans aren't together and we don't want to elect Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, it's just a straight up lie. I think a lot of people were disheartened because we believe that President Trump was cheated out of the presidency. And it's that fight still isn't over. Quite frankly, I think the easiest path is making sure that our Republicans in Arizona have courage, our Republicans in Georgia gain some courage, and the Republican legislature in the state of Pennsylvania gain courage, and we don't have to go through all this rigmarole of state legislatures. If our Republicans will just stand up and have the courage they need to fight, Donald Trump can still win the presidency. Having said that, Kelly Loeffler was there. David Perdue was there. Trump made sure that despite some of his friends' attorneys, that I will not knock either because they've been doing a marvelous job fighting for freedom. But we all disagree that Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue have got to be they are essentially the chasm, the barrier that's going to prevent socialism from completely taking hold. But I'm still praying for a Trump victory because despite gaining plenty of seats in the House that were unpredicted, despite hopefully retaining the Senate with a two-person majority, you still need a front person that can advance the cause of freedom. So I just wanted you to know what I saw in Georgia. I still saw excitement from Trump supporters and from Republicans that are determined to make sure our country doesn't go socialist. I saw plenty of diversity, black people like myself, plenty of white people and country rednecks, and I don't mean any disrespect by that whatsoever. I was proud to sit there and hang with those people and just share the common bond of freedom and the fight for freedom. Chinese people there, you name it, it was there. Latinos that were there, another veterans, a couple of Latino brothers that was on the bus with us as well. I mean, it was to say that Republicans are racist, that Trump is racist. It's just absolutely crazy. Georgia, Valdosta, Georgia, that rally was electric. It was if we were just literally a day or so before an election. So these communists that are running in Georgia, these Democratic communists, the John Ossoffs, the Raphael Warnocks, they have no business being in the United States Senate. And people just need to understand what I saw in Valdosta, Georgia. As long as the governor, Brian Kemp, as long as Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger gets their act together and don't allow Stacey Abrams to steal this election too, the excitement that I saw in Georgia means that we should be able to win those senatorial races. So it's time for Republicans to grow a pair, all right, and fight against this nonsense. We need voter ID. You know what I mean? All the election security that we need to have in place, we need to have in place. We don't need a month's worth of early voting. We need all of this stuff secured before the January 5th runoff. Because based upon what I saw in Georgia and the diversity of people, the enthusiasm that still exists, and Trump pumping David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, and mind you, given the fact that this man knows that he had an election or possibly had an election stolen from him, his attitude was calm, resolute. He knew the job that needed to be done. We need to win the Senate. And I'm just here to give you some comfort and give you some encouragement. For those of you that can, make sure you donate to those races. I would suggest going to their own personal websites to donate to Kelly Loeffler, David Perdue, whatever those websites are. Make sure that we retain the Senate. All right, guys, until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you. I hope I gave you some encouragement today. We are not a shattered party. We are not divided. We are united in the fact that we need to keep the Senate. We're united in the fact that we need to continue to fight for election justice, a term the left might use, and we need to continue to fight for President Trump because I believe we still need a figurehead to advance against socialism, not just manage and defend socialism. All right, guys, God bless you. Don't grow weary doing good. I'll see you next time.